What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall markets. I'm going to break down some very important levels to watch for when I see we're developing on the charts, at least thus far. But just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, but benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, we just got the PCE data report, and the market is gapping up so far as the data was decent. But the question is, are we going to see a little bit of a dip before we try to bounce, or are we about to see something very, very different? I'll talk about all of this in the next couple of minutes. So for today, the PCE data report came in not bad. So right here, you can see month over month core was at 0.2%. The PCE month over month report for all items was at 0.2%. The year over year for PCE, all items was at 2.5%. And then core for year over year was at 2.6%. Everything is aligned with expectations. Everything is what we expected, not bad whatsoever. And the market's getting a more positive reaction so far. 15 minutes after the market opens, we have the Chicago PMI report coming out, followed by the Michigan Consumer Sentiment data at 10 o'clock a.m. So look for more volatility 15 minutes and 30 minutes after market open, and we'll see what that leads to. Now, right now, there's a 69.5% chance we get a 25 basis point cut and about a 30% chance we get a 50 basis point cut. Sorry, there's a 25 basis point cut has a 69%, and the 50 basis point cut has a 30% probability. So that's something else that's worth noting. And then we also have about a 500,000 amount of calls expiring for today, not to mention for 1.5 million of these puts. We have a 2.87 put to call ratio. We'll see what this leads to. Now the question is what's going to happen to the markets. So in my personal opinion, we're looking at 562 as resistance and 560 as support on SPY. I presume what might end up happening is, make sure you watch your levels just to be safe. But notice that we had this low down here at 553. We came up, we made a higher low at 557. And then the bullish PPO is about to cross over right over here. When that happens, that does tend to lead to some upside in the markets. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little dip like this, but we have to watch and see where we bottom. If we dip all the way down to like 558 and lose that, we will kind of lean more bearish. This would be like the more bearish case. But the bullish case would be if we bounce in the 558s like this and we establish another higher low. So if this is our higher low, this is the higher low, and we have another higher low right over here, we could be looking for another leg higher for SPY to attempt to get back up to 563. And then if we break that, if this breaks, we're going to continue to squeeze to the 565, 568 area. So we'll see if we get a bounce. So I think we're going to be dipping in the morning, and I think we might try to fill this gap, and we'll see where we bounce. That's going to have a big effect on whether or not we get a next leg higher or not. Notice on ES, we had this low down here. We came up, made a higher low. If we establish a higher low at like the 5610, 5620 area, I think this could try to rebound back up to the highs again. If we lose 5610, look for a bigger dip. So I'll be watching this very, very carefully, as that's going to be very, very key. For Nvidia, we're barely holding 117 R200 EMA. If we lose that, we're going down to 115, and then down to 112. I think we might try to hold 117. If we hold this, we're going to be looking for a bounce to 122. I'll be watching that as well very, very carefully. For Bitcoin, we have a double bottom like structure that's developing. If we try to break past 60,000, we're going to be looking for a move back up towards 60,800. If we reject and end up tipping back down towards 58,000, we could be tipping. This has a nice double bottom, so we're going to try to push higher. So I'll be watching to see if that ends up being the case. For Tesla, we're trying to rebound. We do have this resistance at this 210 area, but we're nearing a bullish cross in the PPO. So it could be happening. Tesla might dip a little bit. If we establish a higher low, at 207. If we hold 207 and start bouncing, I think we could be pushing back up to like 210, 212. If we lose 207, then we could be dipping back down to 205. I presume Tesla may dip closer to 207, and we'll see if we bounce or not. But I think what's going to happen is we dip a little bit, and then we try to rebound back up to 210 or higher, and we start pushing a little bit from here. So there might be another leg higher coming for the markets, possibly. For NQ, we had a low here. We came up, made a higher low. So this is starting to trend upwards. If we could get a break right over here, if NQ does dip a little bit in the morning, as long as we hold 19,400, we could look for a move back up to 19,700. If we lose 19,400, we could be dipping to the lows of yesterday. I presume that we're going to dip a little bit, then we'll see if we bounce or not. For the QQQ, it's the same thing essentially. I'll be watching for this essentially. If we end up dipping, okay, and we end up losing the 50 EMA at 472, we hold below that, we could be dipping down to 468. If we hold the 471, 472 area like this, if we dip a little bit and hold that, then look for a rebound, and this thing could start pushing. I'll be watching to see if that ends up being the case, and we'll see to what extent we even dip, if we get some kind of dip or not. But this does kind of point in the upwards direction for the time being. So make sure you watch for that very carefully. Apple may dip a little bit towards 229. If that fails us, we're going down to about 228. But then watch and see where we bounce. We're going to bounce off one of these levels most likely to continue higher, because when you zoom out, I think Apple still has this gap to fill at 234. We're going to likely dip and then try to fill that gap soon. Will it end up happening next week, or will it happen earlier? We'll have to just wait and see. But there is potential in Apple to dip a little bit towards that 228 to 229 area, and then we'll see if we bounce off there. For the IWM, we are in a stage where we could dip a little bit lower. We could be trying to test this trend line around this 219 area, and possibly dip towards 217 before we try to rebound. It's also possible we're forming a cup and handle. So we could be forming a giant cup and handle, or even an inverse head and shoulders like structure. So it's possible we dip a little bit, but then we'll be watching to see if we get a bounce off the trend line. If we bounce off this, I expect us to push to 222 again. So it all depends on the trend line. It's very simple. If we lose the trend line, we come back down like this, then we are at risk of dipping. But if we hold the trend line like this, and we do a good job at kind of riding it back up, then we could start pushing for this area. So watch this trend line. Do we hold it or do we lose it? For 5 more, we have Coinbase. We're looking at 188. We'll see if that holds. If we lose 188, we look for 183. If we hold 188, we could be dipping a bit and trying to bounce to 192. So look for a test of that today. For Amazon, it is possible we were trying to get a bullish cross right here. Amazon might dip for 172, but if we hold 172, look for a bounce for 175 plus. If we lose 172, we're going to be dipping back down to 170. I presume that we might be dipping to 172 and trying to bounce. So that's going to be very key. Meta may be dipping back down towards 518, then try to rebound. If we break 524, we're looking for 530. If we lose that, we're going to be dipping. So I think we might dip a little bit and try to rebound. So I'll be watching to see if that ends up being the case. For Microsoft, we could be trying to rebound. I think there could be an attempt for 419. We'll see if we dip first and then go up, or if we bounce from here, but there might be a move to the upside forming. And then for Google, it's the same thing. Essentially, we could be dipping to fill the gap for 163. And if we hold that, if we make a higher low compared to yesterday, we could try to bounce and make our way back up to 166. So that being said, I just want to say I thank you all so much for listening. The market's in a very, very critical place. We're going to be watching our levels. I think there might be a little dip coming. Then we'll see if we get a bounce or not. If we just get a bounce, then the market will likely continue higher, and we could be approaching the highs from yesterday. If not, if we don't even dip much, then just look for the highs to be coming in. But the market looks like it wants to go higher. That's what it looks like to me. Whether we get a dip first and continue or not. But just to be safe, make sure you look at yesterday's lows. As long as we hold above those, we favor the bounce. So watch for that very, very carefully. With that being said, I thank you for listening, guys. I'll see you guys in a few hours for another update, and peace out.